Friends, what a joy to have you all here today. Sorry about in the beginning there, I'm trying to juggle a few different things at the same time. I am so excited because we have today the queen of Jewish children's music, Ellen Allard, an award-winning performer, music educator, composer, and success coach. Ellen is one of the most influential musicians on today's Jewish music scene and on me. With a strong commitment to building community through music, Ellen has a unique, charismatic, charming, and a heartwarming way of encouraging audiences to join together in playful singing. Whether she's performing a concert, presenting a workshop, conducting a choir, or leading Tot Shabbat, religious school, wow worship, an adult worship service, she's fascinated with all things tech and is always ready to expand her skills and serve her audience. I want to make sure that you know, those of you who are watching, that if you have questions, please unmute yourself and add your question to the chat in either Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching, and we will get to as many of those questions as we possibly can. Ellen, I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And tell everyone, where are you calling in from today?
I am in Gloucester, Massachusetts, in the lovely, it's a little island called Cape Ann, which is, they often refer to as the other Cape being Cape Cod. This is a smaller Cape.
Okay, all right, nice. And I'm down here in Florida, and both of our hearts are elsewhere. Both of our hearts are in Israel, and I didn't feel that, and I know you feel the same way, that we could really start today without acknowledging that while we are both, I think, joyful about what we're going to talk about, that our minds, our hearts, our prayers, our energies, our blessings, our everything is really with everyone who is suffering, everyone who's afraid, everyone who is struggling in Israel right now, on every side of every conflict.
Absolutely.
Just enough of the pain, and I just wanted to sort of acknowledge that. Have you've been to Israel?
Several times, yes, and I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
My heart is in the East. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the amazing things about the world that we're in now is our capacity to be in so many different places without actually being there. This sort of digital space allows you to travel all over the country and sing to kids all over, and audiences all over the world even. What has that been like, to be able to be everywhere and still at home?
Well, there are definitely some pluses for sure. The fact that we can do this and reach people and have art and music continue, for sure. But also, I'm not going to lie and tell you that it's all, fun and games. It's frustrating at times, and I miss being in person with kids, with families, with people. So there's two sides to it. It's definitely both, but it's been an interesting journey. And when I think about where I am now versus a year ago in terms of my understanding of tech and ability to use all the different pieces that are connected right here in front of me, I never in a million years would have thought that I would have been here doing this.
Right. It's funny because I teach a few classes to older adults, and they have just people who said, I can't do that and I don't understand.
Right.
They just pick it up. And yet every once in a while, I was on a Zoom earlier today and someone couldn't figure out how to turn their camera on. And I was thinking, what? Really? It's like, really at this point? But I did a video a while back about how it's not about your tech, it's about theirs. And half of the battle for those of us who are engaging with people in digital formats, I think, is recognizing the limitations perhaps, or the capacities of the people that we are presenting to. So if we're asking them to do this or that, or to use a different platform, that can be tricky for some people. Do you feel, Ellen, are you doing more now, or now that you can be everywhere and still be in your home?
I'm doing different. I don't know that I would quantify it. I'm doing different now. And one of the good things I think about this situation is that I'm able to reach congregations that might not have had the financial wherewithal to bring me in for a full weekend, but they can do a concert or a
Right.
Shabbat or a
Right.
workshop or a combination thereof of those things. So in that way, it's helped me to expand my audience to people who a broader swath of people that I can serve.
I think that's true for all Jewish educators, for synagogues. I think we're all realizing that our 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 tentacles, is the word you used before, can really reach out to a much broader audience. And with the new guidance that just came from the CDC, which was, I think a lot of people are sort of don't know what to do with that, because it feels so strange to not have to wear a mask. But even with that, I hope that synagogues and Jewish educators hold on to what you just described, that capacity to reach communities, to reach people who might not otherwise be able to bring you in. It's
Right.
very
And
powerful.
especially, I would also say with kids too, grown-ups, there might be some grown-ups now and again that can't find their camera or are still having problems with one piece of the tech. Kids, however, they've been Zooming for school for a year? So they're savvier than we are. I think
Yeah,
they know how. Yeah, I don't have to worry about do they know how to do thus and such, because
absolutely.
they already know. They're all
Yeah,
very savvy.
yeah.
Even the little ones, they might not know how to type in the chat, but they know what the chat is,
Sure, and
and
they grew up on iPads and phones,
right.
and right. It's stunning to think about the children for whom the last 2 years were their first maybe formative educational years, and that their entree into learning was digital,
Yeah.
which is just stunning. Ellen, tell us a little bit about what has your Torah looked like this past year? How have you been sharing? What has felt different? What has felt better, the same? What's your Torah been like?
Not in any particular order, but I will tell you that one of my great sources of pride and joy is I co-lead a Saturday morning program for kids and their families called Shabbat Shemorning, and I
I've
do it
seen
with
it.
You've
I've
seen it?
seen
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty special with Shira Klein and myself and Stephanie Gadelia. And we are very scripted, very tight. We do it a half hour. It's rare that we go over the 30 minutes. And we've been doing it now. I think this weekend tomorrow will be our maybe 58th or 59th. I mean, we're close to doing it 60 times. And what we do is very, like I said, very scripted. I always open with 5 minutes of the same songs, pretty much, a little changes here and there, but it's very important for kids, for the consistency for them, and the safety that creates when you're consistent to do the same thing. So I do the same thing every first 5 minutes. Shira then takes them into the garden and she does her piece, which is just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And then from there we kind of,
Out into the physical garden,
well, in the no in the
like a green
she says,
screen sort of.
no, she just says, she uses that as a metaphor, and
Ah, 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 ah.
each of us takes a tallis and we wrap ourselves in it and we get ready to go into the garden where we're gonna say the Shema. And that's the one piece of there's a couple, but the real strong piece of the liturgy that we use. And then we dance our way further into the garden. I do a dancing song, and from there we do the Storah of the week. And I use Storah because it comes from
Right,
storytelling,
right.
which is a Labshul thing. And Shira and Stephanie write the Storah based on the Parsha. They write it early in the week. And then on Saturday morning, and I feel it, on the one hand embarrassed, on the second hand proud to tell you that on Saturday morning, after I have breakfast, about an hour before I have to do a sound check, I go and I read the Storah and I read what they're going to do. And did you go somewhere?
No, I'm
Or are
here.
you? Oh no, you're still there. All right. All
I'm
of a
here.
sudden, I didn't see you. And then I write a song. So I now have about
Wow.
40 plus. I literally write every single week. I write a song based on the Storah. So I have I have about 40 new songs that I've written as
You
a
have
result of that.
at
And
least 3 or 4 new albums in there.
definitely. So I'm very, very proud of that. And it's really helped me to hone my songwriting chops. If I ever thought I couldn't write a song on a dime, I can write a song on a dime. And it's always related to the Torah. There's always some way that the Torah is in that song. So that's been exciting. And then we finish with so after she tells the story, I sing my Torah song. And then we end with the Yivarechecha. We bring everybody, we wrap our taluses over our head and we bring everybody close to the screen. We get really close. I want to be able to see your nose. And then we do Yivarechecha, and it's a beautiful thing. And we do an
Wow.
oneg for a few minutes afterwards. The kids get to show us their puppets and their stuffed animals. And, look what I had for breakfast. I had a bagel, or whatever. So that's,
And
for me,
kids
that's
from,
been
and this is for kids from all over the country?
oh yeah, we've had kids from Russia, from
Oh my
Poland,
goodness.
we've had, I mean, the majority of them are from the United States, but we have kids from all over the world.
What
And it's grown. It's grown.
the piece about them showing something, of their own. Zoom or whatever platform you're using has brought all of us into each other's homes in I think ways that we at the beginning we weren't necessarily ready for, and it's opened this amazing opportunity to share a bit of intimacy even for children. How do you use that? How does that work? When kids want to show their bagel, do you capitalize on that? Do you see it as a
Oh yes.
distraction? How do you work with that?
Whether you're in person teaching kids or on Zoom, one of the most important things to do is to acknowledge what the kids are sharing with you. It could be from look at my new shoes to, look at I'm having a bagel for breakfast or whatever. So we use the chat a lot. We ask parents to help when kids can't write in the chat. We have the parents write their answers to questions we ask. And we're really attentive to making sure that we address the kids as much as we can. When I'm teaching or singing or doing anything, I'll see what's happening because I'll be in gallery view on Zoom, and I'll call out the kids and say, oh, look, Sophie has her stuffed giraffe. Oh, she's so cute. What's her name? And then the parent will put the giraffe's name in the chat, and I'll say, oh, your giraffe's name is Charlie. Oh, hi, Charlie. We're so glad that you came to Shabbat morning. We're so glad you're here with us. So it's very important to acknowledge the kids because for them, that's their world.
I love that.
That's so important to
Yeah,
them.
and
So
I love also that I'm sorry to cut you off. I love that in the example you used her name, the child's name, which
very
wasn't
much.
a real name, by the way. We're not giving any child's
Right.
name away on this.
No.
But I have also found that I'm terrible with names. I can't remember names at all, and so having Zoom where everyone's name is right underneath their picture is such a gift for me, and it allows me to name people, which I don't know. There's something about, even when I watch, sometimes I'll watch live streams on Facebook or something, and I'll pop something in the chat, and when the host, who by the way doesn't know me from Adam, and I don't know them, when they say hi David, that's huge. It's huge to hear my name out loud, to know that it matters that I'm there. It's so beautiful.
Names are powerful. It's a powerful way to acknowledge someone by saying their name. That's something you have with you your whole life, your name.
Right.
So what we do at the beginning of the Shabbat morning is in my first 5 minutes is I say, because we actually live stream it to Facebook. So I'll say, if you're watching from Facebook, please make sure to drop your child's name in a comment and then we have moderators who grab those names and text it to us. So we're multitasking while we're doing this. And once I get those names, I see it on my phone sitting next to my laptop, and I'll be able to acknowledge those kids as well as the kids in Zoom who we ask the parents to click on the 3 dots and change their kids' names. And yes, it's very powerful. Who does not like to be addressed? Who does not like to know that you're important and that you count? And starting with your name. Names, that's why we have naming ceremonies. Names are really, really important. That reminds me of, I'll share this really sweet story that is pre-COVID. So at the last URJ biennial, and I'm going to actually grab my puppet and show you. She's right over
puppets. Here. Come on.
Yeah. So I had just gotten this puppet, and I decided that her name was Mimi. She's a mermaid. I don't know if this is going to work with the screen behind me, but we'll try it. So this is Mimi. She is my puppet. Hello, Mimi. How are you today? I'm really good. How are you? Well, I'm really good too. I'm here with who are you here with? No, I'm here with actually with David, Rabbi David. Yeah. Hi, Rabbi David. So
Hi,
this is
Mimi.
Mimi. Hi, David. Wait, I gotta put my hand back in her.
Wait, I have to
Hi,
get mine. I have to get my. Oh God! Wait, I'm plugged in. Hold on. I have to get mine
You
now
have a
too.
tail. Hurry
Yeah,
up, David!
I'm coming. I'm
Oh my
coming. I'm
goodness,
coming.
I need
This.
you to show me your puppet.
Okay. This is Hershey. He's my buddy. Hey!
Hi, Hershey. Want to play?
Hi, Mimi. How you doing?
I'm so really good. I'm gonna wave to you too. Hi.
I wave to you too.
Sometimes I get shy and I cover my eyes like this. Oh, but then I realize, wait, where are my eyes? Here they are. And then I realize that, oh, he's just a friendly dude, and I'm gonna play with him.
I cover my eyes when I say the Shema.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, like this? Like this?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Oh, that. What? Why do you do that, Rabbi David?
Well,
I mean,
because
Charlie. I mean,
Hershey.
Yeah, I mean, what's your name again, Hershey?
My name's Hershey.
Hershey, sorry.
Yeah,
We
it's
were
okay.
just talking about how important names
Yeah, we're
are.
talking about names. You don't even. It's
I didn't even
okay.
remember.
I still love you.
I'm only 2 years old.
I'm only 4, so it's okay. Yeah. So I cover my eyes because there are lots of things around, like in the world, that I always want to look at and see. And my mommy tells me that those are distractions. A really big word. And so when I cover my eyes, it helps me to pay attention and to really think about the words that I'm saying.
What do you think about that, Mimi? Well, I think it's time for me to do that too, Ellen. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to incorporate that, aren't we? Yes, we are, but I'm getting very tired from all this, so if you don't mind, I'm going to take a nap.
Okay.
Okay, wave
Bye.
bye-bye. 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 So anyway, so my story about Mimi is this. So I was leading...
That was totally unexpected. I did not see that
I
coming.
know.
I probably should have, but I did.
I have more where that comes from.
I'm sure.
I have another one called Zigzag, and there's one child who every Saturday morning, if I don't show Zigzag and bring Zigzag on at the end during the oneg, she'll say, Ellen, where's Zigzag? So anyway, so what happened was I was leading Shabbat services for families on Saturday morning at the last biennial. And I had just gotten Mimi the Mermaid. And before the service started, I asked a friend of mine who's a cantor, Rollin Simmons, if she would help me perform a naming ceremony, because Mimi the Mermaid is named after my mother. May she rest in peace. Her name was Mimi. And so during the service, we did a naming ceremony for Mimi. And I literally wept during it. And other people wept too, because it was really, really sweet.
That's amazing.
So, names are important. And kids, the thing about puppets is that kids kind of know that they're not, depending on how old they are, but they know that they're not real, but they're willing to suspend reality.
Yeah. And play along and see those puppets as teachers and as friends and as safe confidants, even, I think. I use Hershey a ton. So one of the things I get to do is I get to run a preschool down here, which is just like the best job on the planet. I mean, I just get to play with children all day. So Hershey is, he's my buddy. And I also have, I've got Moshe over there, I've got Shlomi, and I've got Nurse Nechama, who, if anyone gets hurt, Nurse Nechama comes and makes them feel better. So, puppets are powerful. I'm curious about when you use puppets or other, not tools. There's not. What's the word I'm looking for?
Props.
Props. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. When you use those in a digital setting, is it different than because they can't touch the puppet? They can't. How have you found that?
I have not. I don't think that it has been a problem, and I've learned to adapt. I recently I was asked to teach a yoga class to kids, and because it was in Zoom and because of my space, my physical space, I did not have the ability to have a large space behind me that I could then do down dog and, tree. And so I needed to adapt. So what I did was they're in my closet over there, but I have Hebrew letter flashcards. And what I did was I used the flashcards. I showed the kids the letters, and then I made up hand yoga. And we did hand yoga. And, like for example, for Aleph, I had them take their hand and I said, okay, so this is the palm of your hand. So I want you to look at it. Okay, everybody looking at your palm. And then I want you to take your other hand and make the same kind of thing. Your palm is facing this way and now turn it. And you're just making them hug each other like this. And this was our Aleph. I know it's not exactly an Aleph, but it's close and it's hand yoga. So, and I did, and then we talked about the words that go with those letters. So the word Aleph, the letter Aleph is the first letter in Ahava, and that is the Hebrew word for love. And I love you, and I'm so glad, Aleph, right? So Ahava, and then I did Shin. I showed them how to I said, you take 3 fingers. So look at those 3 fingers. And then I said, take your other hand and make a fist like this, and you're going to cross. It's a little challenging for some of the kids, but I said, this is the dot next to the letter. That's your Shin, and that's our letter for Shalom. And then I said, now take that dot and you're going to move it to the other side. And that's our, it's not a Shin, it's a Sin. And that's our first letter for Simcha, which is joy. And we're having so much fun. We're joyful. And then we did one more. So, you adapt. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You learn
and that
how to
movement,
adapt.
bringing movement into it, I think is so important. I did a thing with older kids. I've done it at camp a few times called Otiot Chayot, living letters, where when we do the Ashrei, instead of just singing every line, because it's a Aleph, Bet, Gimel, what's that called? Where it goes in
acrostic.
Order. Thank you.
Acrostic.
Oh boy, I'm getting old. I can't remember these words because it's an acrostic. So we would, every line we got to, they had to bring the letter to life. So for an Aleph, they would go like this, or they could work together. For a Shin, one person would lie down and then 3 people standing up. That movement piece, I think, especially in digital space, when before this all started, we were all so concerned about screen time, but screen time doesn't have to be sitting in front and staring at a screen. When they're with you on screen time, they're doing yoga, they're moving, they're singing, they're engaging in really powerful ways.
Right.
What
so that's been one of the ways I've done Torah, but I also am a cantorial soloist too, at a conservative shul.
So
completely
what is that?
Different.
Yeah. So what is that like? What has that been like as to share your Torah there in that context?
It's been fun and challenging. And again, this particular congregation is mostly people in their, I want to say 60s and up, and they all learned how to use iPads and laptops, and it's been great. And they, they're muted, but I can tell. I invite them all, and always invite them to sing with me, and it works somehow. We've made it work. Rabbi Marcia Plum is the spiritual leader there, the rabbi, and we just make it work.
That's amazing. Have in your synagogue, do they struggle at all with halachic issues around using technology on Shabbat or holidays or things like that?
I think for about a hot second.
Oh, right.
But they knew that this was the way it was. As a matter of fact, one of the saving graces, I think we'll see once we're back in person. But I have an iPad Pro, and I use Fourscore, which is the music software program that I keep all my music in, my sheet music. And prior to COVID, I could not use this during services. I had to have all my paper, all my music in a binder. And ever since we've been Zooming, I just use this, which nobody can see, and I'm very upfront about it. Marcia knows, but I can't have my music on a stand, and it's just too cumbersome. So This has worked great. So I'm hoping that when we get back to being in person, that I'll be able to now bring this and use it, because all of my music is on here.
That's another really interesting question, Ellen, right? Is what from this past year, what tools, what practices that we have developed for ourselves are we going to, for specifically because we're stuck in digital space, what are we going to bring with us when we come back in person? And I, everyone right now, all the synagogues are talking about hybrid services and how can we make sure that the experience is equal for both partners. In fact, the Reform Movement put out there was an article, I think it was in the Reform Movement, last week that argued, or maybe it was E-Jewish Philanthropy, forgive me. It was in E-Jewish Philanthropy, but it was from leaders of the Reform Movement that argued that we shouldn't call it hybrid, we should call it multi-access, which I thought was really interesting. Because a lot of what you've been doing is broadening the access and of you to the wider community. And if we go back to the way things were, that would, in some ways, it would feel like a contraction. It would feel like we're moving back.
I definitely think so.
Even when it comes to things like using an iPad, I think that's fair game and a fair question for a conservative synagogue to ask and to struggle with. But there are some ways in which that really has become not only important, but really valuable to the experiences that we're able to offer.
I think that there are, I can say with, almost complete certainty that there are families that come to, for example, Shabbat morning, or have participated in other things that I've done through other, other congregations, that these families would not, if not for this, would not be participating in any kind of Jewish ritual or observance. And we have opened up their worlds in a way that is, they will never forget and could very well be their doorway into any kind of Jewish life. And so how could we turn our backs on it when it's really been something that has given people of access, multi-access?
Yeah. I was in a call yesterday and someone mentioned that PJ Library just did a study that said that 75, something, I don't remember the exact number, I think it was 75% of respondents did something Jewish over this past year, whether that was reading a PJ book at night or doing a bedtime Shema ritual or attending an Ellen Allard concert or a Shabbat morning or any of these things. This has been a moment in the Jewish world where people have been searching for ways to connect.
And I would even venture to say that they might not even know that they were searching, but now that the ability, the opportunity is there right in front of them, like, why not take it, And so, yeah, I think that it's, it's the hidden gift of COVID in a way.
Yeah.
Is giving us the ability to connect with people that we might not otherwise have connected with.
Right.
And also, you talked about the seeing people's homes. That intimacy is, I think it brings us closer when we can actually, I can see the books on your shelf, or I can see the mandolin hanging on your wall, or whatever. It just makes us friends in a way. You're invited into my home, and vice versa. And that's pretty intimate to invite somebody into your home.
What are some of the challenges that you have faced in wanting to share your Torah, wanting to share your music and your teaching? What are some of the things that maybe didn't go so well, that you really struggled with and maybe that you learned from?
Well, the tech has been, as I mentioned, challenging from the beginning. And I am that person who will ask a million questions. YouTube is my buddy. And I think nothing of getting onto one of the few many, I should say, Facebook groups I'm in, and asking questions and asking for help. And it's such a beautiful community that I'm a part of. And I always find somebody to help me. So the tech piece, I would say, as much as I say to you that I am absolutely, and I am fascinated with tech, I've had to learn things that, that I had I think I mentioned to you yesterday in an email that I had a tech, I forget how I said it to you, but I was like a detective. I sent out an email through my email list. And if anybody wants to be on my email list, please let me know. You can private message me. And I was sending the email out with a link that was for Shabbat morning. That was a link that was a Google link. But what happened was the person who sends me the link sends it to me in Gmail. I take that and I accept the Google invitation, put it into my iCal. So now Google Calendar is talking to iCal, which is the Apple calendar. And you'd think it would be fine, but it turns out that the link got corrupt. And we went through a whole iteration of steps to try to figure out why, when I sent that link out to everybody on my email list through my newsletter, why was the link not working? We couldn't figure it out. And we finally did. But it took us an hour of trying different processes to see what was working. But it worked. We figured it out. And I was really pleased with that. That felt like a real accomplishment.
Yeah. Those of us who have seized this as an opportunity to tinker, to grow, to learn, to I'm no expert in all this stuff. My philosophy is if you press enough buttons, eventually you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
And so I just press a lot of buttons. And
me too.
And I know. And
I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Right. Well, I know for some people. I know for some people that's that can be scary, it can be intimidating. Yeah. But for others, and I think for those for whom it's invigorating and exciting, we're kind of thriving in this new space. Do you put yourself in that category?
Totally. And I also, if anybody is listening and says, it's scary to me and I'm really frustrated with it and I'm intimidated by it, what I would say is, I get it, I hear you, and it was intimidating and sometimes it still is. And ask for help. And don't be afraid to click a lot. I click all over the place. And sometimes I have to shut down I've learned actually that oftentimes when something isn't working, I've learned to shut down my computer and reboot it. And sometimes that's all it takes. But even
rebooting
learning
is the best.
Rebooting is the best. It's like your computer went on, it hibernated for, it went to a spa for 30 seconds and then it came back to life. And, so I'm like you, I am not at all an expert on any of this, but I've learned how to do. I've learned how to make green screen backgrounds. I now teach songs where every verse has a new green screen background, and I can switch in between them because I have this very, very cool. I'm going to bend down and show you. I have this very, very cool. You have one too? Same thing. It's called a page flip, and this thing is amazing. It's Bluetooth. Yes. And I've even learned how to use this. And, when I don't know how to use something, oftentimes my first reaction is, I'm never going to learn it. And then I go, wait a minute. And then I go YouTube it. And I figure it out. There's always, I feel like there's always a way to figure it out. And I also tell myself, what's the worst that'll happen? You won't figure it out today. And you'll do something different as an alternative, and then you'll do some homework and you'll reach out to people and you'll ask a lot of questions and you'll tinker and click on buttons and eventually you'll figure it out.
Yeah. The page flip is one of the two peripherals that I tell every person who's doing this work they should have. Maybe can you tell us how you use it, what you use it for, in what context?
Sure. So right now I'm facing my laptop. When I do Zoom classes or lead worship services or do Tot Shabbats, anything at all, really, my iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch, is sitting right next to me on a stand. And I use this program called Fourscore, and that's a program where you can import PDFs of anything. It doesn't matter, but I import PDFs of sheet music. And if I'm playing the guitar and my sheet music is over 2 pages, I don't want to stop necessarily and go, hold on a second, I got to I got to click on my iPad to switch over to the next page. All I have to do is click on the page flip, which is on the floor, and it automatically goes to the next page. So that's, for me, how I use it.
Yeah, I use it similarly. I use it actually when when I have slides up of liturgy to just go from slide to slide. Actually, yesterday, this is the first time I used it this way. I did a video. I wanted to do a song because I hadn't said anything publicly about Israel, mostly because I don't know what to say. And so I decided to just sing a song of peace instead. And but it was one of my songs that had a lot of lyrics. And number one, I wanted people to hear the lyrics or see them, but number two, I was sort of afraid I was going to forget them halfway through. So what I did is I actually created a PowerPoint with a green background and then the words just on the bottom. And so I had, 20 slides with each slide had one line on the bottom. And then I brought that into my stream and I green screened out the background so that all that anyone else could see was the lyrics along the bottom. And then I could just use the page flip to just kind of, and it would keep advancing the lyrics. It's such a simple, I found that some of the tools that I'm using, some of the best tools that I'm using are the dumbest, simplest tools. Two pedals that you can press and it just flips something. It just moves the page down.
Right. And it's so simple. I actually, that's the next territory that I'm going to move into is learning how to use. I don't have PowerPoint, but I do have Google Slides. Yep. And so I know that I can make slides and then use them. Where my next terrain is going to include slides. It's going to include maybe OBS. That's something I want to learn how to use. And maybe either Ecamm or StreamYard or something a little more sophisticated than Zoom. I'm not quite there yet, but I would like to go there.
Yeah, those are all great. I would definitely suggest StreamYard or Restream or Ecamm, or even there's a new one called Cinemaker, which is fantastic before OBS. And I'm not bashing OBS. It's only that OBS is, for me at least, is a really steep hill to climb. There's a real learning curve to it. Whereas some of the others, like Cinemaker, you can even actually, here's a tip for you. You can, have you ever heard of Prezi Video?
I have.
So Prezi, you just create, stuff. You create presentations. But Prezi Video, what it does is it creates a virtual camera. So you could take your Google Slides, just regular old slides that you made, import them into Prezi Video, and then what Prezi Video will do is it will overlay them on top of you, like kind of down here. And then you can use the page flip and you can scroll through it just as you always would. And you're kind of getting a little bit of the advanced video streaming stuff that OBS offers in a much more limited way, but in a much more simple way also. It's a nice little tool. So.
It actually comforts me to know that you said that OBS is so complicated, because when I've had a couple of OBS lessons from recently actually, and the person teaching me seemed so knowledgeable and so comfortable, and you're going to be able to do this. This is so easy, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, I will. I'll learn because I'm ready to move to the next place. So
I think people who feel confident with a tool always feel like, I feel confident with Ecamm and I feel like, it's the easiest thing in the world. Well, it's not. It takes it takes time. All right, last question for you, Queen Ellen. What is something from this past year? Maybe it's a practice, maybe it's something you learned, maybe it's a tool, something that you want to take with you when masks are over, when you're back in synagogues with kids and leading services. What is something that you want to take with you that you don't want to let go of?
I have to think about that. Right off the top of my head, I would say that like you, I have not been great with names. That's not one of my strong suits. And yet I know how very important, and I can tell when I call someone's name, I can see how validating it is to them. So I think that I would like to make a greater effort to learn people's names as a way to create that intimacy with them and make sure that they know how important they are to me and my Torah and my space and everything, that I bring to the world. So it's a way to help acknowledge people.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. That's a wonderful example, Ellen, of, how do I say this? That's a lesson I'm going to take with me also. And I don't think that's a lesson that I would have learned without not without the pandemic, but without the technology that allowed me to stay connected during the pandemic. If it weren't for Zoom or Google Meet or whatever it is where I can see those names, I don't think I would have come to the realization of how important it is to use another person's name when you see them. And so, yeah, that's very beautiful.
Yeah, and I might even extend, as you're talking, I'm thinking, before pandemic, I travel and hopefully, God willing, it'll happen again. I travel all over the country and actually internationally. And oftentimes, when I arrive in a community, there's lots of kids and they know me because they've been seeing my picture and they've been watching my videos. I don't know them. And it's hard to learn the names of all those kids. So I might think about, I don't know if they'll let me, but I might think about asking the clergy or the educational director to send me pictures with kids' names so that at least I have,
Wow.
and I'm on the plane and I'm going to look through those kids' names I'm not going to remember them all, but I'm going to try my best. And at least I see their faces before I get there. I can have some kind of connection to them because that is even deeper for me, is going to help me connect when I arrive at my destination,
Yeah.
connect with those kids. And that's what it's all about. It's just about connection.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so beautiful. Ellen, where can people find you? Where can they watch what you're doing? Where can they buy your music? All that other good stuff.
Thank you for asking. I'm on Spotify, and you can also find all of my sheet music, or if you can't find it because it's not up in my store yet, you can just message me. I'm on all the socials. You can also, I would highly recommend and invite people to sign up for my free gift guide, which is 10 tips guaranteed to help you learn how
I did
to
that.
engage children. You did that.
I got it.
You got
I
it.
downloaded it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. It is
Thank
really,
you.
really important, everyone.
Thank you. And you get to see a video. That was one of the things I learned this year was how to make videos and put them on my website. And so if they go to ellenallard.com/music notes, they'll be able to sign up for and subscribe to my email list. And just message me. I'm very approachable. I love hearing from people. I love making new friends. And follow me on all the socials and let's get to know each other.
Yeah. And get her music and bring Ellen to your community, whether it's digitally or not physically. Bring her to your community.
I had the funniest experience a couple of weeks ago, actually, with a young song leader who's very talented. And he was actually the one who was going to teach me OBS. And we were chatting and, who are you and what do you do and what songs do you write? And I said, well, you might know some of my songs. Have you ever heard, I like to hear the shofar blast? And you could see his mouth open, like his chin dropped open. And he was like, oh my God, you wrote that song? That was you? And I said, yes. And he said, I can't believe it. I can't wait to tell my brother he's a rabbi in San Francisco. He's going to die when I tell him that I'm talking to the person who wrote Shofar Blast. So,
that's fantastic. That's great. That's great. Ellen, you have been more than a teacher. You've in many ways, you inspired me to do what I'm doing now. The pure joy, the pure awe that you inspire in children is, there's just no one like you. There really is no one like you. And I guess if I could offer a blessing to you, it would be that the adults that you work with are open enough to experience that, because I know you bring it to them also. Sometimes us adults, we're all stubborn and closed and curmudgeon, because the light that radiates from you is it's piercing and it's so beautiful, and we are so lucky to have you, and I'm so blessed to have you here today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's really been wonderful, and I will continue to learn from you. I watch all your lives, and I've been a fan of your music for years. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. Everyone, please make sure that you visit ellenallard.com. Check her out. And while you're on the interwebs, I want to invite you to head on over to TorahTechGuy.com, where you can get tips and videos, and you can find the gear and free resources. I'm not making money off this. I'm just trying to help people navigate these waters. So definitely head on over there. I'm doing a lot of trainings also for the Reconstructed Rabbinical Association, for the American what is it? The American the ACC, the American Cantorial, what is that called, Ellen?
American Conference of Cantors.
Thank you. Probably should have known that.
I think.
The American Conference of Cantors. I'm doing a training for them coming up. If you'd like some help in your community, please do let me know, because my job here as the Torah Tech Guy is to share great tech for your great Torah. And Ellen is one of the greatest teachers of Torah in the world. So thank you. We'll be back next week with Rabbi Menachem Creditor on Unmute. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everyone. Bye-bye.